Alright guys, got a 15-10 game up against an opponent rated 1865. So I'm going to roll out my French. My very best French. It's on the giant hunting principle, so it's probably going to be like a 11-5 game or 12-4 for me. I've got much more to win than I have to lose, which is all good. Right, it's taking his time to think about how to respond to the French. I'm pretty sure at 1800 you've seen the French defence before. But do you have a normal response? It's taken a minute on move 2. Okay. If takes, we have the French exchange version. If pushes, we have the French advanced version. There's lots of variations here. So I'm kind of banking on the fact that my opponent looks at me and thinks they're 1865, I'm 1427 right now at Rapid. So they're thinking I'm 450 points higher than this sucker. So this should be a walk in the park. Therefore they dial down the depth of thinking, dial down their attention, maybe flicking across to social media or this, that or the other, and just not paying it too much attention. Now, if I can take advantage of that fact, and if I give it my full attention, I can beat an 1800. Okay, this is one response to push c3. Can add another attacker, so now I've got 2 attackers and 2 defenders. Quite happy if white wants to initiate, because then I come back with that, that's fine. Allows me to activate my light square bishop, which in the French can be a bit awkward. 13.5 minutes to go. So although it looks like I've played my first moves very quickly, I've seen this position lots and lots of times before. So hopefully I'm slightly more in my comfort zone than my opponent is. So he's having to think through on principles, whereas I know, we call it theory, but you know, I'm in my safe place. So I'm expecting maybe to push f6 at some point, try and persuade him to take there, get my knight out. That might work. He's under 13 minutes. Okay, we have takes. Now there are options, but I think take with the bishop now. Maybe get the bishop on this diagonal. All good. I really don't want to push this pawn. That's not the idea. Okay. Now, if I play this now, you could play c4. No, then I'll just take it. Or I've got f6. Let's push f6. So now that this c3 pawn here is defending this, there's not much value in trying to initiate the exchange, because it can always just recapture. You do have queen b6 as another attacker, but right now it's defended 3 times, so we take our attention then away from the d4 pawn and start looking at this guy, this advanced e5 pawn. Opponent's in Peru, I think. So, one thing that chess.com gives you is it really teaches you your flags. It's got a few players in Peru. Okay, now I'm going to capture here. So I've got already a bit of a strong centre going on. If knight takes, maybe bishop here? I don't know, what do we think? Quite happy if he wants to take my light square bishop, that's not a great piece. Or I'll just develop my knight. Are there any main threats here? No, I think develop the knight. Maybe then play the bishop there. Try and break up his pawns. If I can get d to take here, that might be okay. Another option as well is knight d7, try and trade off the knights. I probably want to move this bishop somewhere, get castled, get my rook onto the semi-open f-file. Be prepared for a jolly good think. So I'm going to use my time. I've built up some time now. I've still got more than 15 minutes on the clock. We started with 15 minutes because of the increment. But of course, as well, because we have the increment, I think bishop there makes general sense anyway. Preparing to castle. Because we've got the increment, you can't easily win on time. You have to win the game, and that's one of the good things about playing with a time increment. So you can't just flag your opponent easily. Okay. Now, we're kind of looking at bishop takes there, but I think also knight d7. Probably castles first, then knight d7. Castles, try and swap off knights, get the queen off the back rank, and then target this. Okay, so he's replaced his defensive knight, so that's now defending the h2 square. That's pretty good. Okay, I'm going to castle. My opponent's under 11.5 minutes now. So maybe he's giving me due respect, which is what I mean. If you're going to get to 1800, you have to learn how to beat lower rated players conclusively, decisively. It sounds a bit weird, but I'm convinced I lose more points against lower rated players than I do against higher rated players, and I win more against higher rated players. Learning how to carry forward that discipline of just being clinical, methodical, and evil into every game, and give you every opponent due respect. It's very important. Okay, we have a pin. I can't take the knight now because pawn takes and I lose my knight. Yeah, so I think I'd just like to move the queen, I think. So queen b6 now looks interesting. Targeting this pawn. Also lined up with a king. It just breaks the pin on the knight. And I'm not worried about the knight coming here because bishop can take or knight can take. I feel alright at this point in time. My knight's got a bit of an outpost here on e4. Also puts pressure on this knight as well. Quite liking my bishops. My bishops are pointing the right way, whereas this guy isn't. He's pointing towards the middle of the backboard. How are we looking on this pawn? 1, 2, 3 defenders, 1, 2 attackers. Still no go. I am attacking this loose pawn on b2. My b7 pawn is defended right now. So if I take rook there, I can just grab another pawn. Or that one. So if I take, I don't think we're going to see rook b1. Quite comfortable at this point. Got a semi-open file for my rook. Possibly even sack the exchange if the queen stops defending that knight at any point. I might sack the exchange and force g to take on there. Open up the king a little bit maybe. Quite like this move, attacking the bishop. Although it's not a fantastic bishop. I mean, he's got his own dark square pawn structure here. So his bishop's a little bit compromised. Okay, so queen's come forward to defend this pawn. Fair enough. But now I can fork queen and bishop. It just improves my knight as well. I like this move. I'm not really attacking the bishop. I don't think I want to trade off my good knight for that bishop. I don't think that bishop's a fantastic piece. But it puts my knight on a better square, it puts some pressure on the queen. Yeah, queen can't come here or here, I don't think. I've got this, haven't I? Yeah, then I can maybe take out that knight. There might be options if the queen does go onto light squares. Let's think. So let's say queen goes onto one of these light squares. I play bishop here, pawn forward, queen on light square. Okay, so she's gone on the dark square. Two defenders on this pawn now. Three defenders, knight still defending. Okay. Queen's also defending this knight, which is important. I can actually grab the pawn on b2 if I want to. Is there a threat here? It's a pawn. But is that the right move? If takes, what's my queen doing on this side of the board? That's what we have to ask ourselves. Do we want to open up the b file? So white's looking pretty well coordinated now as well. I do have a pawn majority in the centre, so maybe it's time to try and drive that home to a degree. I've also got bishop there. It's an idea. Can't push the pawn forward. Let's play that. Just hit this rook. If the rook undefends this pawn, there may be ideas here. Bishop isn't doing much there. That pawn didn't need defending. It's got pawn defending it. This pawn's actually undefended right now. Everything else is solid. That's my only loose piece. Maybe rook a to e8. Don't know, it'd be great to get a win against an 1800. That's a wonderful start to the day, isn't it? But never fall into that trap. Oh my, the number of times you ever go, you get into this kind of middle part of the game and then you start to go, oh, I wonder how many points I'll win if I win this. And you start calculating your points, you start counting your money before you've won, do you know what I mean? Like the old song goes, The Gambler. Never count your money when you're sitting at the table. It's time enough for counting when the dealing's done. Okay, now he's tempting me to grab. Then he's going to take with his knight and I take with mine, but then that undefends my knight, so that's no good. And I can't capture with the pawn either because that undefends my knight. So, I mean, I could take the bishop, they take, then I grab the pawn with a threat on the rook. If I take, knight takes, can't then grab b2 because knight's defending it and it's attacking my queen. So bishop takes, knight takes. Don't think we need to do that. But this knight's such a good piece, I don't really want to trade it off for that guy. So let's say I take, probably knight takes. I could just drop my bishop back, and if they take, I take again. No, I think this is okay. If they take, I've got pawn takes for free. then with a threat of pawn to c3 attacking this one, and also with a discovered attack on that rook. So he's going to recapture with either queen or knight. Don't think I'm too afraid. But his knights are getting a little bit close. His knights are improving themselves. He's also got the option to capture the bishop instead, and then I grab the knight. He's using more time than I'm using. Maybe that's why he's in 1800 and I'm not. Okay, so we've got knight takes. So now, I can grab the pawn for free. That really opens up the board, doesn't it? Can grab with bishop, then if knight takes, pawn takes. We're kind of okay. So I could win a pawn in all of this. Knight to there is a possibility. The only thing defending that currently is my bishop. So I'm going to take the pawn, so I don't want to get my queen and my rook forked by that knight. Bishop has to defend against that possibility. I'm hitting that knight, defended by pawning. Also got this now as an idea. If queen takes, bishop takes, bishop c5, and I've got bishop, queen and rook lined up against f2. Okay, so there's a bit of a checkmate threat. Ooh, and it forks this. Oh, you cunning beggar. Right, not a lot we can do about that, is there? So queen takes e6 check. King's going to have to move here. One of these knights can come in with check. And a fork on the bishop. Knight comes in with check, I have to move again. Then the bishop's going to fall, yeah? But the knight has pinned itself. Now I can attack the queen, maybe. Does my opponent have a winning attack here? Oh, wow! Gorgeous checkmate. Full respect to you, mate. I didn't even see that coming. Wow. Good stuff. Do you know what? I like losing. Sometimes, you know, when an attack is that good, so, you know, did we see this coming? I said the knights are coming in, right? And two knights together can be pretty deadly. So that's pretty much forced, right? I can't move the king, it's checkmate, yeah? Check there, bang. Wow, beautiful. Well, do you know if you're going to lose to a lovely checkmate like that, can't go wrong, can't deny my opponent the victory there. Well played, and you know what? I've had a good game and I've only lost a few points, so what's not to like? Okay, there you go. Thank you for watching. Sobering, but you know, it's good, and I'm going to try and learn from this, you know. So I really let that pair of knights in. I decided to capture that bishop, and I kind of knew in the back of my mind that it wasn't the right thing to do. It wasn't a great bishop, and then I'm inviting these knights to come in as a pair, you know, and eventually that's just what undid me. Queen over here. So I'm putting his knight here. Very attacking square. It's looking at h7. It's looking at f7, right? And I opened the door for that. Yeah, absolutely. I took my eye off the ball. I was looking at the wrong side of the thing. And then this is all completely forced. Well done, Rodrigo Haas from Peru. Good game. I've enjoyed it. Hope you've enjoyed watching. See you soon.